Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a freshly clipped bovine, keeping my hair with that short look because it gives me a certain air of antiquity. Joining me on the panel today, Brian and Tony and Hammer Time, and we're going to be talking about, of course, the big game coming up for the Browns on Sunday. But first, we get a little lecture from the cow, and I know how you all look forward to this crap all the time. Today's message is a lesson in humility, and I'll make it real short and sweet. I think everybody can look back at a time in their life when things were difficult for them. Hopefully, it's behind you and not happening right now for you. But I can tell you stories about living in Canton, Ohio when I was 24, 25 years old. In Canton, Ohio on 9th Street. Now, if anyone's familiar with Canton, everybody knows that 9th Street was not exactly a glowing neighborhood. I lived in an apartment and that I lived on the third floor. It had no air conditioning. It had steam heat. And I mean, this place was, it had roaches, and it was as antique looking as my hair. And it was like, holy moly. It's like, how did I get here? I can't believe this. It's like, but I was starting out as a salesman and selling radio airtime, and that's the way it began. And you know what I owned? I owned nothing. I owned a 13-inch black and white portable television set. That's what I owned. I owned nothing. There was no shower in the fucking place. It was a goddamn sunken bathtub. And it was 3 floors up. So in the goddamn summer, you had an electric fan and a window you had to open. Now, things make you appreciate what you have when you have it a little better. And that's humility. Humility is being able to remember and to live your life like you still don't have anything, and to look at the world through the eyes of people who have less. That's what humility is. None of which Sammy Watkins has. Okay? So you know where this is going. First, you have Chase Claypool, who's just a bad loser, and now he's saying the Browns are classless, and I'm just looking at him and going, you're seriously gonna be, you're a Steeler, and you're seriously gonna say that. But I take what he says, really, that's the reason the Steelers are going down the shitter. Mike Tomlin don't have control of his people, and you don't have control over the people when they make filthy hits on the field and they injure people, or when they get themselves and cripple themselves for life. He seriously has no control. But then there's a guy like Sammy Watkins, and the reason I hone in on him is because such high and lofty expectations coming out of Clemson. He was one of the top draft picks, and back in 2015. And, he not exactly, 2014, that would be the year he was, and I don't know where he went, but it was high in the draft.
Buffalo, I believe.
Well, he went to Buffalo, yeah, but he was a high pick. And, I decided for the fun of it to kind of look at how he began in the league. And he went to play with a team whose quarterback was, who quarterbacked the Bills in 2014? This is like carousel. It's going to be like the Browns. You're never going to get this, but go ahead. Each of you gets one stab. Who quarterbacked the Bills in 2014?
Was it J.P. Losman?
Nope. Good try, though. Hammer time. No looking, no peeking, no flipping.
Let me see.
This is a Jeopardy question I'd never get.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yep. After the fact, Google. Yep.
After the fact, Google. Yeah. But I mean, Brian's stumped. I'd be stumped.
Hammer stumped.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on mute.
I think he wore number 8.
It wasn't Tyrod Taylor. It was
No.
No. I mean, it was pre-Tyrod Taylor.
Wow.
Kyle Orton.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, from Purdue.
Yeah, I mean,
Kyle Orton. They had EJ Manuel too. Yeah, that fucking disaster.
EJ Manuel. Yeah, he was backup who had to play the final 2 games of the season. The final 5 games of the season. The way it went down was Buffalo.
And now you know why Tyrod Taylor won the starting job.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there was nothing there. I mean, by this time, Kyle Orton was 32 years of age. Not real good. But there was our friend, Sammy Watkins, as a rookie, and you don't choose where you go in the NFL. And it's not that he played poorly either. He did a pretty good job. Doug Marrone was the head coach. They went 9-7. Then I wanted to look at the next year for him, 2015, and you're quite correct. Tyrod Taylor was the starting quarterback, and that should tell you everything you need to know. 2 yards in a cloud of dust. And their record was, I want to say, 7-9, I believe, was their record that year. 8-8, maybe 8-8. And again, it's not that Sammy Watkins, Rex Ryan was the head coach. They were 8-8. All right. It's not that he was a bad player for them at all. We'll go through his stats in just a minute. In 2016, Tyrod Taylor came back and led him to a beautiful 7-9 record.
Yeah. Watkins did not play that year because he broke his foot.
And, Rex Ryan was 7-8 and fired because of his foot fetish, and Anthony Lynn took over and went 0-1. So there you have it. That's the beginning for our buddy Sammy Watkins. He then ended up going to the LA Rams, which was a big step up. Jared Goff's breakthrough season, and they were in the playoffs after an 11-5 record. And he started a lot of games for them. He started 14 games, Sammy Watkins did. He averaged 15 yards a reception. He had 39 catches for 593 yards, which would cement him as being a guy who is a reliable receiver. I think people may have wanted a little bit more out of him as far as being a breakaway threat, but he kind of merged into being more of a possession guy. The Rams weren't so much in love with him that they didn't part with him, and he went on to Kansas City. Now, obviously, things went well in Kansas City. And however, his health, not so great. We'll get into that in a minute. But the bottom line is when you finally get to the point where, you look back at Kyle Orton, EJ Manuel, and Tyrod Taylor, and that's where you come from. When you come into the league, you should be grateful. You should be thankful. What an opportunity for me. I got on the Rams and got to play in the playoffs. And by God, I've won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. I'm with this machine, this Mahomes machine. But you still got to take a cheap shot, don't you? You still got to play high and mighty. Like, they're not going to be that much competition, the Browns. Chuckle, chuckle, chuckle. Well, you weren't much competition when you were playing with Rex Ryan, you stupid Phoebe. The bottom line is you got no humility. You don't remember where you came from. So you're just a high first-round pick. And, the reason the Browns is the Browns is because we were able to silence the biggest lack of humility person on the Cleveland Browns. That would be OBJ. He has no humility whatsoever.
Yeah.
And shutting his big mouth up and getting players to believe and buy in and to keep their mouth shut, except Mac Wilson, who don't play very much anymore. We now go in and get the job done. And now The guy without humility has been struck by the gods in the ultimate deus ex machina, and he can't play. He ain't playing this week. So he'll be cheering him on with the pom-poms from the sidelines. But the bottom line is humility is good for the soul. You want to talk about somebody who has humility? Talk to Joel Bitonio. Joel Bitonio has seen the rest. Joe Thomas saw everything. Okay. Bitonio has seen the rest. And quite honestly, this is something players play and risk their lives for a lifetime career. They die young, they're in pain, they have head brain damage, and sure enough, many of them never see the playoffs ever, not even a single game, let alone a Super Bowl or a Super Bowl win, even rarer yet. So this is it. Sammy Watkins isn't going to play, and it's not going to hurt the Chiefs all that much. And will it really hurt Sammy that much? Fuck no, because he'll collect the hardware one way or the other, because that's what he's in it for. I love the Cleveland Browns because they're just, and Baker Mayfield fielded the question. Here's more locker room fodder for you, dude. He goes, no. He goes, no, it's not the Sammy Watkins thing. He goes, no. He goes, you got to have confidence to make it in this league. And just put the fire out before the fire began. Instead of yapping, let's get to work. We have another short week of practice. We got to make a game plan and become a great, well-oiled machine to even have a prayer in this football game. So a little bit of humility not only goes a long way for people, it's gone a long way for the Cleveland Browns, who had every reason in the world to literally whip their dicks out and piss all over Heinz Field. And the fact that they chose to do a little Juju Smith-Schuster, Smith, Barney in their locker room privately and not in front of the Pittsburgh fans shows class. You're allowed to be happy when you're victorious, okay? I mean, Ben cried for the whole world to see. And I remember Tim Couch, he got thrown out of Cleveland for that. I don't get the rules. Tim Couch had a concussion and cried. It was like, God, get rid of this pussy. And there's Ben Roethlisberger. That's the great Big Ben. You dance when you're happy when you've won, not before you fucking play. Now all the talk in Cleveland goes backward, and I never understand this either. Well, what about Dorsey? And I said, look, he led a great big band. He had a brother who also ran a great big band. But Tommy and Jimmy, what do I care? Yes, Dorsey made some good selections, but Dorsey has a history. He can't work with people. He's dictatorial. He cannot delegate. The reason he is still not in the NFL is because nobody wants to put up with the horseshit because he thinks he's the owner and he doesn't have enough money to become an owner. That's why Dorsey's out of a job. It's not a judgment thing. It's not that he did a crummy job. It's that he's not the next man up. He's not the guy who would be living the Stefanski philosophy. No. Now, you can say analytics, non-analytics, that Dorsey wanted to throw all analytics out the window. But what he really wanted to do is throw all the voices out of the window so he could run the goddamn thing himself. It doesn't work. In this day and age, it just doesn't work. So let's stop talking about him and let's focus in on, the fact that we did pretty good in the draft. Take a look at what we did. I think Barry's done a good early job. We got Jedrick Wills Jr. That sure as hell was a great pick. Grant Delpit, jury's out, and may not have been such a great pick, depending on whether he heals or not and whether he can play. In round 3, we got Jordan Elliott, who was playing reps on the line, okay? Jordan Elliott's been on the field quite a bit this year. And for a third-round pick, went number 88. Not bad. Look at Jacob Phillips. He went 97 in the third round. Pick number 33 in the third round. And here he is, and he has supplanted Mac Wilson. Jacob Phillips has been playing good football for this football team. Round 4, we got ourselves at 115, Harrison Bryant. And he has contributed this year. Our round 5 pick played a little bit, but then he got hurt. Nick Harris, he looked a little bit overmatched when he had to play a full game. But he's a young kid. And God only knows he had to go in at a position he doesn't normally play. And our round 6 at 187 is Donovan Peoples-Jones, who has made a difference on this team. Look, I mean, if you want to be praising somebody,
which some of us had said in the preseason, by the way.
Praise Andrew Berry so far. Doesn't mean he's going to hit on every one of these things, but we wouldn't be where we are without these players who have been filling in. That's just a huge part of this equation. And that comes from drafting players. No, they're not great starters. They may not ever be great starters, but you can't win in the league without depth. Do you know the experience these players are getting with the reps they're getting in important games early in their career? It's going to make them better football players. And I think it's great that they're contributing and that they're actually competitive out there. We're used to having guys like Greedy Williams who never play. Guys who, they never hit the field. Guys who end up with nobody, like Mingo, who end up with everybody but never plays anywhere because he's not any good.
Or who end up as bobbleheads like Emmanuel Acho.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, we seriously have had such bad drafting in the history of the organization that it's, to say that all the picks for this past year all have made a contribution in the course of playing in this round of the playoffs. I think that's remarkable. So let's give up all the crap about talking behind us, and let's look ahead. Before I get into the Browns game, the Urban Meyer story comes up, and I don't like what I'm reading. I don't like what I'm reading at all. I remember when Shermer, came to coach, and because of a great general manager was coming who had led the Green Bay Packers to the promised land. Amen. And you know what he said? The first thing he said was, no, I'm not going to get involved in the everyday activities. And no, I'm not a coach or anything like that. I'm Mike Holmgren, and I'm bolted to a golf cart. And I'll ride around like Caesar in a chariot. And I'm not going to do anything. And he didn't, except he collected a paycheck. I don't like it when somebody comes in and says, well, I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be less than what I was. And that's basically what Urban's saying. You know how I almost killed myself trying to win? I'm not going to do that in Jacksonville. That was his speech. Yeah, I'm older now, 56, and I can see the wrongness of my ways. Well, the wrongness of your ways is what got you to where you are. I mean, honestly, in my work, I was a sledgehammer. If I would have said, I'm going to take a step back, I've got to ease off a little bit. And, it's not all about winning. This sounds like Florida retirement. This sounds like Mike Holmgren. STO Man 1. Who is STO Man 1?
I have no idea.
Neither do I.
He seems to know you.
Yeah.
Andre Knott, isn't it?
He's whatever. We were trying to figure out whatever happened to Papa Burrell.
Oh.
Maybe
think he may have passed away.
No.
He hasn't posted on Frying Pan Sports in over a year, and he hasn't tweeted in over a year. So something is either he completely disconnected from social media and his, reporting, or something worse has happened.
I sure hell hope not. He was a very nice man.
Yes,
And
he was.
hopefully he still is a very nice man. I know his wife was ill years ago. That I know. But, the old man says, I used to come every day. We all did when we were younger.
Whoa. Hey now.
All right. Amsterdam thinks the same thing. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that's not true. I'll hold that in my heart. He was a good man. He was a really good man.
Yeah.
At any rate, God, I mean, seeing that, my mind just gets distracted. I'm sorry. But Urban Meyer coming in and saying basically that I'm coming here, and it's not, I still want to win every bit as much as I wanted to win, but I realize I got to go about it differently. You know something? You think college kids were hard to handle. Dude, you got no fucking clue what you're getting into. You're getting into guys who are going to make what you earn a pittance. Guys who you can't get to shut up. Guys who you can't get to give up their stats for the good of the team. When Urban was the coach at Ohio State, you know how many players were good enough to play every snap in the NFL, and they had to divide reps at Ohio State? But that's easy to do with an 18, 19, 20-year-old, not some guy who's making millions and millions of dollars. Good luck.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, not to mention that their paycheck may depend on how many times they get the ball or how many plays they're in the game, or their future paycheck may as well, which is it's a different story.
I mean, it's tough because, to come in, we've seen it before where big college names have come in, and, we were talking before the show and Pete Carroll's name came up as a bright and shining star. But there have been so many others. I mean, Lou Holtz would be
but that was my mind. The bright and shining star is his second go around. Let's not forget what a fucking disaster he was in New England prior to Bill Belichick getting hired. He was the stand between the big tuna and Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, and
it's a fucking crater.
But a lot of times guys are older when they're head coaches in college and they come into the NFL, and if they fail, there is no second go around for them. And, I can think of so many names. I mean, I can think of names like who were the big high school names, like, Faust, who went to Notre Dame and just, once he got in the national limelight.
Well, going back 40 years ago, Frank Kush.
Yeah.
Frank Kush won a national title for ASU, or was at least in the conversations.
Yeah.
And when he went to Indianapolis, actually, when he went to Baltimore, they moved to Indianapolis, and that really fucked him.
Well, it's not an easy chore. And you're going to an organization, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I really have questions as to whether, just like I have questions about whether Tampa should really be a baseball market. And there's no rap on the Rays, because, the Rays have done a great job in year in, year out with their $35 million payroll, getting, into the playoffs and having winning records. I mean, they have people making good decisions, but the fans don't care if they don't show up. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have to. Jacksonville is more Georgia than it is Florida, to be very honest with you. And
Florida-Georgia line.
That's right. I mean, no, but I mean, everything's happening south of you. When you're in Jacksonville, I mean, Miami is way, way, way south of you. And then, of course, Tampa on the other side. And then, you have Orlando in the middle of the state, which is Mickey Mouse and basketball. And but Jacksonville has no other franchise to fall back. Of course, Miami might not either. You stop and
Jacksonville University.
the Marlins. That doesn't really count. But at any rate, it's a tough place just to go in and turn around and win. And whether the fans will buy in and get any excitement in that market, because quite honestly, Urban Meyer isn't a name that is going to make them jump for joy. I remember when we got, after Chris Palmer, we went to the college ranks too, didn't we?
Butchie Davis.
And Butch never really got it going for the Browns, and then he ended up spying on his team. Hi there, Shea Muvara. So anyway, let's get to the real thing that we want to talk about, and that's the Sunday game.
Cleveland Indians, right? I'm sorry.
According to the media, the Kareem Hunt revenge game.
Well, that's foolish.
Kareem doesn't care.
I think the players pretty well explained.
Tony Grossi tweeted that out, and I almost pissed myself laughing. It's like, what revenge? He beat a woman. The Chiefs had to let him go.
Well,
how about that big Cavs trade? Come on, that's what we should be talking about.
Yeah, there you go. How many centers can we put on the floor at the same time?
Look at that all 7-foot team, couldn't we?
Yeah, well, it's a gimmick, But actually, what it is Dan Gilbert has secretly signed a endorsement deal with Afro Sheen, and that's why he brought Jared Allen in. But that'll all be exposed later down the line, right here on Moohead Radio.
Now, if we can get somebody with a Jerry curl, we can get the Soul Glow contact.
That's exactly right. That's right. So,
and we can go back to the sexual chocolate uniforms too.
And then there's Anaconda malt liquor. It's the malt liquor that makes you woo. Okay. No more Black Dynamite references either. I promise you.
Man.
Yeah. Look, this is pop culture, folks. This is not just sports. So the Browns have a really tough task. But again, well, look, you're going against the best team, and I think nobody even questions that the Chiefs are the most well-oiled machine in the AFC, and they're better than anybody in the NFC. I think that is pretty well accepted. It doesn't mean that the Chiefs can't lose. It just means that they're an 81% favorite to beat the Browns. To put that in perspective, the Bills are a 51% probability of beating the Ravens. All right. So
it makes sense though if you think about it. It's just here's a team, the first time in the playoffs in a generation, right? I honestly that that's kind of done it with smoke and mirrors all year. Whatever. We do have a couple things going for us. We're pretty much playing with house money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're going up against
there's no lose.
You got the 21st ranked rushing defense that you're going against, and you have one of the best offensive lines with everybody coming back. Now, how well they're going to be, who knows? But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so, I do actually. SGO1 man one. I still talk of Cavs, but there hasn't been a Cavs team on the floor yet this year because every one of their starters is decimated. And no, when the Browns are this far, I don't dedicate any time to talking about guys whose last names are Stevens or guys who are Yogi Ferrell, here today, gone tomorrow, that kind of thing. We'll wait.
Ferrell.
Yeah, Yogi Ferrell. Yeah, we'll wait and see once the team really gets its pieces together. And I understand the section is coming back.
If the season continues. They just had their 13th game get canceled.
Yeah, the T-Wolves.
And the Grizzlies. Yeah, Carl Anthony Towns tested positive for COVID.
Oh my God! I mean, and again, I keep getting diverted, but I saw that no, that's all right. That the NBA is instituting expanded rosters now because everybody can't play because they're sick. This is goofy. It's like, isn't that pounding the wrong nail with the wrong hammer? It's like we're just going to add more players to get sick.
No, at least MLB and the NFL had this right last year with this.
Yeah, they had that was the way to put things, especially the NBA and NHL when they went to the little pod system or whatever, but they knew there was going to be issues. That's part of the reason why Toronto was worried about teams coming up to play.
Yeah,
And you still have that issue in hockey as well. They're talking about so.
Yep.
Beware of Goldfinger. I had to get that out of my.
He's the man.
Yeah,
Not
another
to be confused with Brown Finger.
Everyone had a different handle in the old days. There are things to like potentially about the matchup. It's not that it's impossible. What it is unlikely, just from a standpoint that we just got done playing our best game of the year under the most ridiculous circumstances that could be thrown at us
against a team with diminishing skills. To throw out a word, they really are. You look at that quarterback. You look at that team that we just got done playing that went 1-5 down the stretch. They're, one of the things that they said on one of the newscasts or whatever, they're talking about it. They said the Browns played like the Steelers, and the Steelers played like they were the Browns. They did not look like that team that had the history and whatever. And when you sit there and you start thinking about how you got these new guys, Smith-Schuster and Claypool, and they're just thinking, okay, we're going to be on the Steelers, and we're just going to keep being good. And from year to year, they keep losing people and reloading. At some point in time in the NFL, you're going to hit a wall on that. And maybe this is when the Steelers are hitting the wall.
Whatever happened to Ken Silverstein anyway? I don't know. That was such a long time ago. I was a younger cow. And it wasn't that I hated Ken. I mean, that's a strong word. He was just a douchebag. 32 minutes.
Yeah.
6 o'clock. I mean,
that was 10 years ago, DSL.
My God.
Any reference to it has been completely wiped off the internet.
Yeah, it's like old news, So here's the way I see the game. You go in like Hammer Time said, you got nothing to lose, right? House bunny.
Yep.
You can establish the smartest course of action strategically, which is to try to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. That's, you can try mixing up coverages to try to confuse him. Probably not going to work. But you got to stay back because they'll run past you in your secondary because we don't have great speed in our secondary. So we're going to have to, again, keep things in front of us as best we can. Like all of these games turn out to be, the longer it stays close, the better it is for us. But we can't afford to have happen to us what happened to the Steelers. You see what happens when you get jumped on. And this team, I was looking at comparative statistics of the quarterbacks. The last couple of games, Mahomes has not been as sharp as he had been previously. You hope that he has a less than Mahomes-esque performance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a bunch of things that have to happen all at once for this to go down. One, Mahomes has to have an uncharacteristically not so good day. The Browns have to stop the run so that, do we have a word on their running back? Is he going to play or isn't he?
Questionable so far, so they don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
but they got Le'Veon Bell backing him up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Then you've got to cover everybody out of the backfield. Kelsey is a pain in the ass.
A machine.
And then you have the outside route runners. It's going to be hard.
Who's going to be covering Kelsey? Is that going to be B.J. Goodson?
Yeah, and B.J. Goodson.
Boy, he's not healthy.
No, but there's the kind of guy though who knows this is my moment. This is my time. I got to be out there and I got to be playing. And I love guys like this because, there's Sammy Watkins who doesn't have to play and shoots his mouth off, and then there's a guy with a freaking AC joint sprain, and he's going to come out and he's going to have to play a lot of snaps, and he is going to be, and he's the best tackler in our linebacker corps. It's going to hurt like a mother every tackle he makes, and yes, he's our best coverage linebacker, and yeah, he's going to have to be out there with Kelsey, and it's just such a wide open spread offense that it's really very difficult to stop the downfield throw because you're just spread so thin. And the other thing is he can run, he can improvise. There's just, he can throw the ball from 3 or 4 different arm slots. I mean,
and even left-handed if necessary.
What you're trying to say is good. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
He's the guy that we wanted back in that draft, and then the Chiefs traded up in front of us. That's what he is. There you go.
Rick is saying that he sort of stat that they lose every time the opponent rushes for 156 yards or more, and this is during the Mahomes tenure.
It's good. Yeah, 21st against the run. They're not that great against the run. It just they're going to outscore you. It's kind of like what happened with Alabama and Ohio State, where Ohio State, hey, we got down here, we scored, and Alabama got the ball and went down and scored. And Alabama got the ball and went down and scored, and Alabama got the ball, and so on and so on and so on.
And that's what it is. It's a trick.
The Chiefs are. Yeah, I mean they just don't. They only stop themselves. It's going to have to be one of those things where. And they don't have a quarterback who's underthrowing and overthrowing people like that dude last week, who we won't talk about anymore.
I mean, who made us look a little better than what we are back there in the secondary. You've got a situation where the reason teams don't run for 156 yards or more, Rick, is because they're so far behind early in the game, they have to abandon it because this offense puts it on you and puts it on you quick. And
home run hitters like Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry aren't on every single team.
Yeah.
Great point, Brian.
I think I'm not saying that we can't run for 150 yards, but the thing is that you have to be in the game because running clock in and of itself, if we hold them to 28 points, but we're running the ball all the time, we're only going to score 17.
And the Chiefs can score in 3 to 4 minutes, which, if you're running the ball all the time, you're going to be looking at 9-minute drives. If the Chiefs go right down the field, your offense is going to be worn out halfway through the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's the problem, and we've seen it with the Browns defense, and with the 90 snap performance, is our defense is on the field far too often, and a lot of courage it's taken for a bunch of guys who are probably not going to be regular football players for the majority of their lives, not going to hang around the NFL for all that long, that they've been able to participate and produce in the way that they have. But you can't be out on the field for all those plays against Patrick Mahomes. You just can't. You can't get tired. You got to, and trying to chase him down is really difficult because he's got a good offensive line who protects him in the pocket. And if he does break loose, just a flick of the wrist, man, damage is done.
He can run too. It's not like he's slow and prodding. He's got some speed to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's the more normalized, the guy who's bound, if he stays healthy, to be a potential Hall of Fame quarterback, as opposed to a guy like Lamar Jackson, who is, to the wonderment of all, a great athlete, but still the jury is out on him passing the ball, and still the jury's out how long his career will last running the ball. So no such concerns with Mahomes, and they have a great offense. Andy Reid has really proven that he still belongs in the modern game, and talent.
Eric Bieniemy is a hell of a coach that is the new token Rooney Rule guy in the league, apparently.
Yeah, the Denny Green interview, right?
Yeah.
For all those years when they would just interview Denny Green, and he'd go in there and they'd be like, "Yeah, okay, thanks for coming in, Denny. Now we'll get to the real part."
The Falcons just hired some guy I've never heard of in my fucking life and never gave Bieniemy an interview.
Right.
Insane.
I mean, and he was an offensive coordinator, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, again, what I was looking at is 2020 weekly offense grades for the quarterbacks. Here's, Mahomes, and we'll go week by week. Offensive grades week one, he went 69, then an 83.5, then a 92.5. Then against New England, an incredibly bad 44.9. And you'll notice that all quarterbacks do have a couple of these outlier games. Then an 81.5 against Las Vegas, a 61.3 against Buffalo, but back up to a 72.2 against Denver, but up to a 92.7 against the Woeful Jets. And then 77 against Carolina, back to Las Vegas, this time with an 86.8, at Tampa Bay a 90.1, and then Denver a second time, 93.3. But here's what I'm talking about. At Miami, a 68.6, at New Orleans, a 66.7, and Atlanta, 51.2. But, and if you look at the same thing from Baker Mayfield, not as many high highs, but take a look at the curve here. This is how it started out, a 55.7 against the Ravens, 75.1 against the Bengals, 63.3 against Washington, 72.8 against Dallas, then down to a 54.7 against Indy, and then a 31.9 the first time we played Pittsburgh. Then Cincinnati the second time, he's up to a 91.2, but the dreaded Vegas game, 69. And then a 67.7 against Houston and a 71.5 against the Eagles. Coming up, 78.9 against Jacksonville, up to a 91.1 in that big win over Tennessee. Baltimore the second time, a 72.3. I'd say that, that's not good. You don't want to see Baltimore a third time if we can get that far. Against the Giants, a 92.2. I'm sorry, the first New York number I gave you, the New York Jets game.
Yeah, we don't count that. He didn't have his people. Let's
57.
Let's not even count that one.
Look at the 90s that he's had. Tennessee, the Giants, and then an 82.4 against Pittsburgh the first time around at a 90.5. A lot of his better performances have come later in the season, which is attributable to learning the system. So there is that is in our favor, and that's a great thing. So, again, can we give Baker the time he needs to throw? I think so, because I just don't think we're going to be trying long balls down the field against this team. We don't outrun people at the wide receiver position. It's precision over the middle, and it's sideline passes, and it's more intermediate stuff. Don't be surprised if Kareem Hunt gets a few screen passes, try to run over people. As far as it being, anything for Kareem Hunt, he said that it is personal for him, and I think it would be personal for him. He has a lot of friends on that team still, and I think that every guy wants to play against his ex-team. I think that's the way, but he is not at all negative about the people he played with, and he's still in contact with a whole bunch of people, probably not front office people, but people who are players on that team. So,
I mean, for the Chiefs, there's nothing they could have done, though. It would have been terrible PR to keep Kareem Hunt on that team.
No question. I mean, and I'm glad it's worked out the way it's worked out. Yeah. It's helped the Browns, and it certainly hasn't hurt the Kansas City Chiefs. So everybody is happy, The predictions are fairly predictable in this game, all right? And I suppose we have other games that we could predict as well. But the problem that we have is that, and I'm looking at the Sporting News saying the Chiefs 38-30, Alavai. If we score 30 points, that would be a magnificent showing. If we're in this game anywhere near deep in the third quarter, it will be a hell of a performance. But I'm looking at a bunch of prognostications, and we don't have, according to these people, a prayer. 44-27 on NFL Spin Zone, and these are very representative. All right, the Bleacher Report, 42-31 Kansas City. But, they're giving our offense props. What they're basically saying is it's not that the Browns won't be able to score. It's that they ain't going to be able to stop anybody,
Yes, Bonrick, you had a question.
What's the weather going to be like?
No, go ahead.
He asked what the weather was going to be like. I think it's going to be like sunny and 50, 60 degrees.
Yeah, what I want to know is
what 95.
Yeah, what's the weather?
WSNY.
What's the weather going to be like in Buffalo?
I heard snowstorms.
That's what
they should be getting the nasty ass blizzard that's hitting the Midwest right now.
Cloudy and 38 for Kansas City on Sunday.
Buffalo is Saturday night, right?
Yep, tomorrow night.
We have the morning one, so all right. So here's our forecast brought to you by AARP.
Brought to you by the Woolly Bear Festival.
30% chance of snow and 27 degrees in Buffalo tomorrow.
And it's going to be
great showers.
Okay, so bring your mittens.
Didn't Dick Goddard pass away recently?
Yeah.
In fact, his daughter had bobbleheads for sale or whatever. 37 and cloudy, winds out of the west-southwest at 14 miles an hour. So it should be normal Buffalo weather.
This is Dick Goddard up in heaven. And the forecast in Buffalo is a dawn freezing 27 degrees. All right. So, yeah, but that's something too for a young quarterback who just got done winning his first playoff game in 3 years. First big cold weather game in Buffalo. If there's any lake effect, the chill coming off there, if they're not able to run the ball as effectively and he has to throw the ball, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Most of the people in the chat room probably, feel that the Browns, I see some of the people were saying that we were going to win the game. But, some of the people are like this, that it's going to be just like a shootout. And that might be good for ratings, but, I don't know. I don't want to see the defense give up that many points. So we have to pick the game.
Yeah.
This is what we're left with. And we're going to start with Shea Muvara. Bronk?
Do you really want to start with him?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I can start.
Going geographically the furthest away. So it's kind of like golf, it's the furthest from the hole.
Yeah, so it's my honor, Your Honor.
There you go.
Anyway, it comes down to what it comes down to every fucking week. We win the turnover battle. We're able to run the ball, and then our defense just manages to hold them to less points than what we score. I have Kansas City 31, Cleveland 42. Browns are going to win.
Hammer time.
Well, I'd like to quote Terrence Mann and say there comes a time when all the cosmic tumblers have clicked into place and the universe opens up on itself for a few seconds to show you what's possible. And what's possible is a possible Cleveland Browns victory. And I am going to go 36-31 Cleveland.
Wow.
Tony the Calf.
Well, it'd be awesome again to see the Browns win, but last week, we have to have sanity prevail here.
Yeah, like last week. And what happened?
Yeah.
You picked them to lose, and what happened?
Yeah, that was Ben Roethlisberger at 42.
Oh yeah, it was Antifa. Antifa did it. It was all Antifa.
No, I'll quote Tony. As an old man once told me, the Steelers always win. All right, go ahead.
Steelers always
Yeah, an
win.
old man living in Bradenton, Florida right now.
Oh, I don't know who you're talking about.
What's up with that? Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is just, when he's down, he's unbreakable. It's going to be a close game.
They've already won their Super Bowl. How motivated are they going to be? And they also have the pressure of playing the Browns because everybody expects you to beat the Browns. The pressure is totally on Kansas City in this game, and they've already won their Super Bowl last year. So they have to match our motivation in this game. Will they be able to do that? We'll find out.
See, my thought is that the only year the Browns would have a chance of going to the Super Bowl is the one year where no one can fucking go to the game.
Well,
and then what will happen? Then people will say,
Cleveland.
"Fake news! They didn't win the Super Bowl. Fake news! Fake news!" All right. So, Tony, what was your prediction?
I was going to say it was going to be 38-28 Chiefs.
All right, Brian.
That's a push, right?
I got the Browns 41-38.
And and this is where
Not on a Cody Parkey field goal to win it at the end, right?
Wow.
No,
he's not.
it's going to
He's
be a
not
touchdown with a failed 2-point conversion
There you go.
so
for 41.
yeah. So here's reality is
Again,
Reality fight.
What you said last week. You said this last, and I don't care if I look foolish by predicting the Browns.
Wait. But I'm
House
going
money move. House
against
money.
all. I mean, there is no reason anymore because the Browns had every reason to hold their hand, and the Browns literally had to, play people that have. I mean, the player didn't even know who the other guy was. Who's hands?
We got Tanya Ward. We got Terrence Mitchell. We've got Jim Brown coming back, Ernie Green, Frank Ryan. They're all coming back for the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is
Warfield.
It's a great moment for a team that's had such bad fortune over the course of a long period of time. And for me to sit here and tell you that you could spin the wheel over and over and the Browns would win, no, I'm not going to tell you that. But if you spin the wheel once, anything's possible. Here's what has to happen. First of all, I believe the Chiefs believe what everyone else believes, that they're just so much better than the Browns that they're going to play loose to the beginning and they're just going to try to get up on them and just beat the snot out of them. Could well happen. But I think that it's like a fighter who's in against a guy it was like Mike Tyson going in against Buster Douglas. And in the beginning of the fight, Buster Douglas went down. It wasn't that Buster Douglas came out and with a first round knockout and was like, "Yo, Adrian, we did it." It's not like that. It was like the longer he stood there and then started punching back, he got tired. Tyson got tired. Yeah. And then he realized this guy's got more left than what I got. And the idea with the Chiefs is that if you overcome that first salvo and you're right there, like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, give and take, whose character dies first? The Browns will literally be so overjoyed that they're that close, that deep in the game, they will overperform. And the sphincters will get very tight on the Kansas City side. Oh, and if you're a Browns fan and you have a heart that beats in your chest, you pick the Browns to win, which is what I'm going to do. And my final score is the Browns 38-35 over the Chiefs. And I don't really care. I don't care if they win, if they lose. Of course, I want them to win. I'm so proud of the team for getting this far. And man, we have such an opportunity to get better. It's just the first year of the system. We have such an opportunity to get our players really inside out familiar with the entire playbook.
Well, to stretch your fight analogy even more, everybody's expecting it to be like Tyson versus Frank Bruno. And, perhaps that could happen. But like you're saying, it could be Tyson Buster Douglas. We will find out on Sunday afternoon.
Here's the irony for you.
If the Browns win 17-12, boy, is that I mean,
if it's 17-12, I'll eat my shoe live on this program.
No, I mean, the quarterback would have to be injured.
His head fell off his fucking skull. Patrick Mahomes dropped back, his leg snapped in half. Chad Henne against Case Keenum.
Put everything in perspective for a while. A few years back, we're going about 3 years back, the Cleveland Browns, the fans were going to have a parade around the stadium if they lost every game, and they won one at the end of the year. The next year, they did lose every game, and they did have their parade. Tomorrow, the Browns are actually hosting a parade around the stadium for the thing. It's going on from 11 to 4 in Cleveland, and they're driving around the stadium. The pro shop is open, and they are having a big ass party up in Cleveland. How ironic is that from just that few years ago to where we are now? How thrilling is it?
Yeah, and what's really exciting to me is that there's something to look forward to. And it isn't that this is a slam dunk that we're just we're gonna be really good next year. You never know what awaits you, who gets hurt, who doesn't get hurt. You don't know. But
that's the thing. I mean, the game last week when Conklin went out injured, that was such a big momentum swing to the Steelers that we just barely survived that. We have to hope that there isn't any serious injuries during this game. If we've got the momentum and we're playing well, we can't have one of our prime players go out hurt.
And more than that, for next year, it isn't, it's not like the Freddie Kitchens scenario where a guy was just calling somebody else's, Todd Haley's plays. He decided he was just going to become a dictator in the offseason, and he had no experience and he had no business being named the head coach. We said that in the very beginning, and he proved it all right. And he's not even qualified to be a tight ends coach, and he definitely couldn't step in and call plays. You saw what he did, for God's sakes. He tries a goddamn fake field goal. A team that was giving up 80% of its fourth downs and made a guy who holds a snap throw a pass in the middle of the end zone. I mean, what kind of goofiness? We have a qualified head coach who has the backing of management and who has the players' ears and is going to make the players that we draft better players because they're going to be taught the same system that the veterans are getting, and they'll be able to train and teach the young players. And we're just starting this. Baker Mayfield's 25 years old. We're just starting this, and it's a great opportunity. Yeah, Ron.
This is the first season that we can all legitimately say that the team has gotten noticeably better throughout the year. Compare the team to September, you compare it to now, it is noticeably better. That has not happened in 25 freaking years.
Yeah, and we've got
the team has never improved.
As the season has moved on, we've just gotten better, and we haven't seen that in any season.
Well, this is the most entertaining team in 20-some years, too. Cause everybody points to the 2017, but I specifically remember Moo screaming for Cornell to be fired and the team to suck, that the team was just getting by. This is a season, you believe in the head coach. They're giving you 100% effort every single fucking game, whether they win or lose. It's something to be proud of.
Now,
I wonder if somebody could send a message though to the Kansas City Chiefs and just have them rest their starters again for the Super Bowl. I think that would be a good idea.
if they can follow Sammy Watkins to the
Yeah.
sideline.
Hey, Patrick Mahomes, want to get COVID? No.
Yeah, they said actually the breaking news just came over. They said the Cavs and Wizards game has been canceled. 2 games have been canceled, Sunday and Monday now.
13 games in 2 weeks.
Six players on the Wizards plus 3 more in COVID in close contact protocol.
And we play the Knicks tonight, so I guess that game is okay. Yeah, and before we get out, I did want to mention the trade that the Cavaliers kind of got in on, and giving up a bunch of draft picks that like the Milwaukee Bucks draft pick, and they re-signed Giannis. That pick would have been a 24th first-round pick, which would have been nothing. What we get. All right, and I know Torian Prince. Torian Prince is a career 41.7% field goal shooter. He shoots 36 from behind the arc. The problem with Torian Prince is he can't play a lick of defense, and it's going to go against JB Bickerstaff as far as and Torian Prince has experience. But we need a 6'7" wing. You see, it's going to be very difficult for the Cleveland Cavaliers with a 6-foot guard, a 6'1" guard, and a 6'4" Okoro trying to play the 3. We are just vastly undersized, and it's not a real good situation. Torian Prince may very well wind up playing the 3 to get that extra balance of height on the floor and work Okoro in as a rookie. And again, who starts isn't necessarily who finishes out on the floor.
Yeah.
That obviously the Allen thing is
Allen's your prize, yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy. And look, what I'll tell you about Andre Drummond is that Andre Drummond will get his numbers, but he's going to play the way he's going to play. And he does not pass out of double and triple teams. He horses the ball up. Everyone loves fouling him because he can't make free throws. He's a big beast of a guy. And
are you saying Andre is Andre?
Yeah, he's going to do what he's going to do. And I've seen so many opportunities for him to pass out of doubles. He brings the ball down. He wants to put the ball on the floor. He's maxed out.
He's a guy that he's like Dwight Howard. If you're looking to build a winning team, he can't be the focal point or even the second or third option on your team.
That's right. I mean, and it's no rap against him. I mean,
how's the chicken?
I mean, he puts up good stats. He's a great rebounder. Make no mistake about that. Yeah. But in open space, he's not a great defender. He's a good rebounder, and he's a guy who has limited range. So what you're really getting involved with now is a 22-year-old guy who has no shooting range, who shoots from 3 feet and in, who really is a more talented Anderson Varejao, all right? Because he has a 7'6" wingspan, block shots, can alter shots, can run the floor, can stay with players on the perimeter because he's quick-footed, and he is not afraid to play defense and do what he's supposed to do. They're going to hopefully try to work with him on the offensive part of his game. There is no calling right now on the phone for Drummond. Teams are not looking for him. JaVale McGee will be let go. That's what's going to happen. He'll be moved. And they're going to bring Allen off the bench to begin with. They're going to try to show and hope somebody
gets Drummond. Yeah,
that's right. Give us something for him, and maybe somebody who's desperate for a big man come a playoff time might bite on that at the trade deadline. But you're not going to have all those 7-footers playing. But the thing is,
it'd be fantastic.
Here's the thing, and it's the thing that's the toughest thing for the Cavaliers right now. Under normal circumstances, if you had all, forgetting Okoro, he's just a rookie, you would still have Sexton and Garland at the guards, and your 3 would be Kevin Porter, a junior. And the whole circumstance surrounding Kevin Porter Jr. Is what I can tell you, and I know more. But what I can tell you is he's back in the gym working. Okay, he's working with people on staff. That's what I can tell you. So he is practicing, and he's a talented basketball player, no question about that. But even he's only 6'4". They needed a bigger wing. And then, Kevin Love just can't be relied on at this point. His back is just gone. And, he's played a lot of years in the NBA. He's still a great 3-point shooter, and he's a very good pass out of a double kind of a guy. So he, when he does get back, he's going to play. But he's not the future of the organization. The team has some pieces, and I like the idea of Darius Garland, who I think is a point guard. Colin Sexton is not a point guard, so he's an undersized scoring guard, and the market for that is tough in the NBA because defensively he can be backed down. Tenacious player, and he's become much better than I thought he was going to be. All right. But I would say that between Darius Garland and Sexton, there's a greater likelihood that Sexton moved and to bring in more of a haul because he can score, obviously, 20 points a night plus at will. And there are going to be people who like that. But the Cavaliers right now, their general manager said exactly what I'm about to say. They're in the evaluation process still. This is not about winning now. This is about evaluating who you want on your team down the road. And I'm hoping to God it's not Jetty Osman. I don't want him on the floor anymore. The guy's spastic and, way too turnover prone. But, I'm happy for the Cavaliers having gotten a good young center because JaVale McGee at 33. And to be honest with you, Andre Drummond is a guy who
it's great to have dinner with, though. He's a good dinner companion.
Yeah, it's exactly what Tony said. He's not a focal point of a team. So, and not that Jared Allen is, but it's what you might be able to get for some of these players and piece together that is the future of the Cavaliers. And I think right now, if they were all healthy and playing together, this team is a 35-win team. If they just play defense the way Bickerstaff wants them to play defense, I honestly believe they can win 35. But winning 35 games means nothing in the NBA. It just buys you another season of 35 wins. It's a tough march uphill. Let's put it that way. But I'm going to be around again, the 3:05 start, halftime, and post-game show. And I'm going to be watching. And instead of having butterflies, I'm going to have a good old time watching the game.
We might as well pick the other games over here.
Oh,
I'm happy to do that.
Well, I mean,
Chris, it's 10 after, Bronk. Fuck.
Yeah, well, Bronk is
adamant on picking.
Go ahead, Bronk.
It's after midnight. It's after midnight here. Anyway. Ravens beating the Bills, regardless of the weather. I got the Saints winning, and I've got Green Bay winning, and then I got the Saints beating Green Bay, and then I got the Saints winning the Super Bowl.
All right.
So that's my prediction.
Oh, I'm not ready for all that, but I think Buffalo's going to win over the Ravens because I would like that to happen. And I would, and let's continue with what I would like to have happen. Let's go with the Saints beating Tom Terrific and him finally taking one in the thing, but I don't know that that's going to happen. And Rodgers is Rodgers. I mean, it's just going to be one of those things that. And I got Green Bay going to the Super Bowl, and unfortunately, I got them going against Buffalo. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to end up winning this. But hey, one thing to bring up, and let's talk about just 1 second, the fact that Baker Mayfield is the oldest starting quarterback of the 4 remaining AFC teams. It is just an incredible stat that the next generation is here. That's pretty cool.
Joe Burrow was injured. But look at the promise that he has too. Yeah, we're seeing another banner couple of years for quarterback drafts, and it happens often enough in the NFL to bring us a crop of quarterbacks that all play at the same time, and that's what's great for fandom. It's great for the game. It makes a lot of money for the league.
Can you imagine a Ravens-Browns AFC Championship game?
God.
No.
In Baltimore? Holy fuck.
I'm picking Buffalo to beat the Ravens, and I'm going to go so far as saying not going to be close. Not going to be close. Buffalo is going to thwart them. It's going to beat them by like 15 points.
That could happen. That could definitely happen.
That would be pretty fairy tale, though. The old Browns against the new Browns for the right to go to the Super Bowl.
Nah. I don't want to have anything to do with it, man. I don't want to see us run after Lamar Jackson.
The two fan bases in actually in Kansas City as well, really. God bless them for getting a win last year. But Buffalo and Cleveland fan bases just they both can deserve one. Screw those.
Buffalo's going to be so tight in this game, man. Their asshole's going to be like,
Screw those Baltimoreans. That's what I say.
Well, Stephon Diggs is a game changer, and he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 wide receivers in the league.
And Allen can change the game too with his feet as well as his arms.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That guy can run out in from 50 yards out, but he doesn't have to.
Yeah, you can sit there and say, well, Josh Allen may not have a great game, but I can say the same thing about Lamar Jackson. So
yeah,
I am picking Buffalo in that game. I don't think the Saints are that good. Sorry, I'm picking them to lose.
Wow, Tampa Bay beating them, huh?
Yeah, I know.
That's the smart pick. I'm just saying I don't want Tampa to win.
I know.
I am picking with the teams I would rather see win this week. So,
all right. I got to get out of here because I got the rest of my night in front of me. But I want to thank everybody for coming here. And halftime, post-game shows come Sunday. And just, let's keep all the positive vibes going. And thanks for the support. And give your support to the Cleveland Browns. Win, lose, or draw. What a fantastic season it's been. And I'm going to be watching this, cheering them on, even if the ship's going down. So thanks, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. Back again Sunday at halftime. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
And vote Ray Prisby for the